The enigma of machine gun belts. Why sailors carried ammo on their bodies. Subscribe to our channel to stay tuned for more captivating stories, and share your thoughts in the comments. Today, I'm diving into a mystery that still puzzles many. Why did sailors during the American Civil War and World War II drape themselves with heavy machine gun ammo belts instead of using practical pouches? A black and white photograph captures a sailor in a Navy jacket, his gaze steely, draped with machine gun ammo belts crisscrossing his chest. These images, common from the American Civil War of 1861 to 1865 and World War II from 1941 to 1945, are striking yet perplexing. Why would sailors carry heavy ammo belts on their bodies? Wouldn't it be simpler and safer to use pouches designed for ammunition? These belts were not just cumbersome but dangerous. The bullets could get wet, dirty, or even explode. Let's unravel the reasons behind this odd tradition and explore why it persisted despite the obvious risks. This story goes beyond military equipment. It's about people who, in the chaos of war, found ways to survive and triumph. It's about traditions born in hardship that became symbols of courage. I'll share my thoughts, dive into the economic backdrop, and pull in historical facts to immerse you in this topic. We'll explore how this practice started, why it endured, and what it revealed about the era. Plus, I'll include insights from modern sources to show how this story ties into the economic and social realities of the time. The birth of a tradition, World War I, and the challenges of a new era. To understand why sailors began draping themselves with ammo belts, we need to travel back to the early 20th century during World War I from 1914 to 1918. This was a time of rapid change. New technologies were reshaping warfare, and one of the most significant was aviation. Airplanes and airships, though primitive by today's standards, could carry bombs and posed a serious threat to ships. Ships built in the late 19th and early 20th centuries weren't designed to counter air attacks. Their massive guns were meant for naval battles, not for shooting down aircraft. Imagine a mighty battleship, the pride of the fleet, suddenly vulnerable to a small plane dropping a bomb. This was a new reality that caught everyone off guard. Sailors had to improvise. The only weapon available to counter aircraft was the machine gun. In the United States and other nations, the Maxim gun, invented in the 1880s by Hiram Maxim, was a mainstay. Weighing about 60 pounds with its tripod, it was reliable but required a steady supply of ammunition. The belts for the Maxim held 250 rounds of 30 caliber bullets, each belt weighing around 13 pounds. On ships, machine guns were mounted on upper decks, high vantage points where lookouts, signalmen, and rangefinders worked. These spots offered clear views to spot approaching planes and fire without obstruction. But there was a catch. These positions weren't equipped for storing ammo. The ship's motion, salty sea air, and cramped spaces made it impossible to simply stack belts nearby. Bullets could fall overboard, get wet, or tangle. In the heat of battle, where every second counted, this could be deadly. Sailors devised a bold solution with the ammo belts. Slung over their shoulders in a crisscross pattern, they resembled the bandoliers of old Western outlaws. This ensured machine gunners had ammo at hand without relying on runners. In the chaos of battle, with ships pitching and shells exploding, it was a risky but effective fix. My thoughts: why did this work? At first glance, carrying heavy ammo belts seems reckless, but it reflects the sailor's resourcefulness and pragmatism. When you lack the tools to solve a problem, you use what's available. It's like when we jury-rig solutions in everyday life. Say, using duct tape to fix a broken chair because you don't have proper tools. Sailors turned their bodies into ammo racks because it was the quickest way to keep fighting. Could there have been a better solution? Maybe temporary boxes or mounts for the belts could have been devised. But in wartime, with limited resources and time, such innovations weren't feasible. Plus, the crisscrossed belts looked formidable. It was a practical choice with a psychological edge. sailors signaled to the enemy, "We're ready, and we've got plenty of ammo." Economic context, scarcity, and logistics. To grasp why sailors stuck with this practice despite the invention of ammo pouches, let's examine the economic realities of the time. During World War I, the United States ramped up its military production, but shortages were common. According to historical records, in 1915, the U.S. Army struggled to produce enough ammunition, manufacturing only about 2 million rounds monthly when 10 times that was needed. This scarcity affected all aspects of military supply. Ammo pouches, which seemed like an obvious solution, weren't easy to produce. They required leather, fabric, and metal buckles, materials in short supply during wartime. Leather was needed for boots and belts, fabric for uniforms, and metal for weapons and ships. Producing pouches for every sailor or soldier wasn't a priority when resources were stretched thin. Logistics added another layer of difficulty. Getting supplies to ships, especially those in remote ports, was a logistical nightmare. During the American Civil War, the Union and Confederacy both faced supply chain disruptions due to destroyed railroads and blockaded ports. By World War II, the U.S. had improved its industrial capacity, producing around 24 million rifle rounds in 1942, according to National Archives data. Yet, distribution remained uneven, especially for naval units operating far from main bases. Sailors often received only the bare essentials: weapons, ammo, and basic uniforms. Navy uniforms, with their minimal pockets, weren't designed for carrying loose rounds. Without pouches, sailors fell back on the old practice of wearing ammo belts. Reflections on economics. The economic constraints of wartime highlight how scarcity shapes decisions. Today, we take abundance for granted, but back then, even basic items like pouches were luxuries. It's a reminder of how people adapt under pressure. Think about modern startups operating on tight budgets. They innovate with what they have, much like sailors use their bodies as ammo carriers. This lesson applies to our lives too. When resources are limited, creativity kicks in. Whether it's a small business pivoting during a crisis or a community coming together after a disaster, the ability to make do with what's available is a timeless skill. World War II. Why the tradition persisted. By the start of World War II in 1941, you'd expect naval forces to have modernized. Anti-aircraft guns like the 20mm Oerlikon were now standard, and regulations called for ammo pouches. Yet, photos from the era still show sailors draped with belts. Why? First, supply issues lingered. In 1941, as Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, the U.S. scrambled to equip its forces. According to historian Rick Atkinson, the U.S. lost nearly 20% of its Pacific Fleet supplies in the early months of the war. This meant sailors, especially in remote outposts, often got ammo without the accompanying gear. Second, naval infantry, Marines, had unique needs. Unlike regular troops, Marines frequently conducted amphibious assaults. Imagine leaping from a landing craft into the Pacific surf, carrying a machine gun and several ammo belts. Each belt weighed about 13 pounds, and if poorly secured, it could sink. Losing ammo during a landing could doom the mission. Operating a Maxim gun required a team. The gunner fired, an assistant loaded belts and monitored the weapon, and a runner brought ammo, water for cooling, and oil. In amphibious landings, where teams could be separated or casualties were high, carrying belts on the body was a safeguard. If even one Marine reached the beach with ammo, the gun could keep firing. It was a brutal but practical strategy. Versatility of ammo. Another factor was the versatility of .30 caliber rounds. These fit not only the Maxim, but also rifles like the M1 Garand and Springfield M1903. A sailor with belts could supply both his machine gun and personal weapon, a critical advantage when resupply was uncertain. However, some photos show sailors with belts holding submachine guns like the Thompson, which used .45 caliber rounds. Why carry mismatched ammo? In the chaos of early war years, units often received mixed weapons, and belts might have been a backup for comrades with rifles or machine guns. Naval swagger, symbolism, and propaganda. There's more to this than practicality. The image of a sailor draped with ammo belts was iconic. During the Civil War, such imagery symbolized defiance, especially for Union sailors fighting to preserve the nation. By World War II, propaganda amplified this effect. Photos of Marines with belts splashed across newspapers and posters, boosting morale. They screamed, "We're tough, we're ready, we'll win." Some images were staged. Sailors posed with belts to project naval swagger, turning themselves into larger-than-life figures akin to modern action heroes. This wasn't just for show. It inspired civilians and soldiers alike, fostering a belief in victory no matter the odds. And it worked. The Allies triumphed in 1945. My thoughts: the power of symbols. The sailor with ammo belts is more than a snapshot. It's a symbol of resilience. It's like today's viral videos or memes that rally people around a cause. Those images were the memes of their time, fueling determination. What symbols inspire us now? Maybe it's a photo of a firefighter saving lives or an athlete breaking records. Symbols shape our beliefs, and the sailor's image was a powerful one. Modern takeaways. Lessons for today. In 2025, we live in a different world. Soldiers use ergonomic pouches, mall vests, and high-tech gear. But the sailor's story offers timeless lessons. First, it teaches resourcefulness. Sailors made do with what they had, like today's entrepreneurs innovating under constraints. For example, in 2023, U.S. tech startups raised over $100 billion despite economic uncertainty, per Crunchbase data, showing adaptability akin to those sailors. Second, it underscores the power of imagery. Modern brands like Nike or Patagonia craft narratives that inspire loyalty, much like wartime propaganda. The sailors' belts were a brand of courage. Finally, it's about human spirit. Those sailors risked everything to complete their mission. It's a reminder that perseverance can overcome any obstacle. Economic analysis. Lessons for today. During World War II, the U.S. spent about 40% of its GDP on the war effort, per the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Compare that to 2023, when defense spending was around 3% of GDP, according to SIPRI. This shows the immense strain of wartime economies. Every bullet and pouch was precious. Today, we see similar dynamics in global conflicts. In the Russia-Ukraine war, logistics remain critical. By 2025, both sides had lost over 10,000 vehicles, per Oryx data, highlighting the need for efficient resource use. The sailor's story reminds us that creativity thrives in scarcity, whether in war or business. The tale of sailors with machine gun belts is more than a quirky historical footnote. It's a saga of ingenuity, courage, and making the impossible possible. Would you follow regulations and risk running out of ammo, or drape yourself with belts to ensure victory? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm eager to hear your take. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that bridge the past and present. Your support fuels content that inspires and provokes thought. Let's keep exploring history together.